Guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Today's episode is all about, do you have to be dual credentialed? Meaning that you have to be certified with the American Health Information Management Association and the American Academy of Professional Coders. If you're brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue. I'm a medical coder. Okay, guys, first things first. I'm gonna hurt some feelings because I always hurt feelings every time I talk about this particular subject. Okay, but that aside, okay, here's the thing. I am not advocating in this video for either association. I'm not. Even though I'm with Ahima, right? I'm not advocating for either one because it's always on the coder. What I am trying to do here, okay, is I am trying to help brand new people who seem to be stuck on this hamster wheel thinking that they need to be certified with both associations, both with Ahima and with Aapc. They think that they need both the CCS and the CPCA. So when they go out there, that they'll be able to get a job, they'll make all this much more money because they have two credentials on their name. This is not true, okay? And if anybody tells you that, oh no, she doesn't know what she's talking about, they're wrong, okay? So here's the thing. I'm not here to sell you either way, okay? Either way you're gonna go is fine. But I will say this again. The CCS says that you have mastered inpatient and outpatient coding, that you know all there is to know about the inpatient setting and the outpatient setting. So you can go anywhere, okay? If you have that one, or if you have the CCA, right? CCA says the same thing, but CCA says that you are entry level, that you have the entry level competence to code inpatient or outpatient, right? If you get the CPCA, this is an apprentice, okay? CPCA designation apprentice, right? And this just says that you know how to code for outpatient coding. It doesn't say anything in there about inpatient, okay? It doesn't say anything about knowing about ICD-10 PCS or, MSDRG, none of those things, okay? That credential is for outpatient coding only, okay? And you have that designation, that apprentice designation for 2 years. Well, no, Blue, they said if I went through their program and if I do Practicode, that I'll be instantly a CPC and I'll have the CCS and the CPC. Again, now you're doubling up on what you're saying that you're capable of, okay? If you are getting both of those, right? And you say, well, I'm doing Practicode, I'm doing all these things, and that's going to be my work experience. It's not work experience. It's not even an internship, okay? What it is additional education. That's what it is, all right? And that's fine. It's great to have additional education. I think you can get the same thing if you go through the workbooks, but, some people are like, no, I want to go through Practicode. Okay, but Practicode, you're learning it on your own. You're doing it all on your own. It's not a teaching thing, okay? And AAPC is very clear about that. And then you have the same people, right, or other people that are saying, well, I couldn't get an answer to my question. And some of them are getting very upset on LinkedIn. And they're, just airing out all their grievances about why they should be getting answers from AAPC. Meanwhile, whenever you post anything on LinkedIn, there's a lot of people who are connected to other people. And by the time you know it, you're going to get yourself a little bit of a reputation if you're not careful. So you want to make sure that you're not sitting here airing your frustrations on LinkedIn. It doesn't matter. Everybody knows that they've had problems with it. Some people have had issues with accessing Practicode or whatever. But that's on AAPC. That has nothing to do with the fact about being dual credentialed. All you need is one. So pick one. That's my advice. Now, if you want to be certified through both, if you want to spend that extra money, because it's $205 a year for membership for AAPC, and you have to pay that every single year you hold your certification, and you have to make 36 continuing education units. You got to get all of those in those 2 years for that CPC. And then with Ahima, all you have to report is 20, and you don't have to have a membership fee every single year, but they will charge you for reporting your continuing education units. Not quite the $205 every single year, but they do charge you because it's their administrative fee. So just pick one. All you need is one. It doesn't matter what the school says. If it's part of the school, you've already paid for it, you didn't know any better. But what I am saying is this: if you are thinking that that's what you need to do, you do not need to do that. Okay, I'm here to tell you, I have no dog in the fight, whether you get certified or not, or whether you get both of them or not. But what I am trying to help you do is from spending money unnecessarily, because it gets expensive after a while. Guys, you have to think about this. Me as a YouTube creator for medical coding, I get a lot of emails where people say, well, Blue, I went through this program and I got my CPCA, and then they told me I needed to get, my instructor said I need to get the CPB and the COC and the CRC, and I have these 4 credentials and I don't have a job, and it's been 6 months and I'm still looking. I don't know how I'm going to come up with all these CEUs. It is unnecessary, and quite frankly, it's disgusting when people force feed these additional credentials on brand new people, because they're just taking advantage at that point, trying to sell more classes and more, and more and more and more. Meanwhile, if you have your books, your workbooks and things like that, that's just as good. You can work with those. You don't necessarily have to go through all of these things, right? And there's a lot of things that you can learn online. And of course, I have the independent study video. But you have to be more discerning about what you're adding on and what you're doing. You do not have to be certified through both associations to make more money. You will not, in fact, make more money when you're brand new, you have no experience, and you're strolling up in there with all these credentials, because you have no experience to back it up. Now, I always say that if you're brand new, that you need to spend the first 2 years at least with just one certification, because in these first 2 years, it's going to be enough just for you to just get in the door somewhere, learn your way around, and then you get your additional credentials if you're looking at getting something specific. But when you're doing that, make sure that you are getting something that is looked for by employers. Not all of these other credentials, specialty for these for the specialty services like OBGYN and the ER. Those, is anybody looking for those? Not that I've seen on the job listings. And before any of you tries to argue with me, well, no, at my facility, this isn't. Okay, yeah, sure, okay. I've been around long enough to know better, okay? And here's the thing, guys. I work in orthopedics and podiatry. Do you see me being certified as an orthopedics coder? No, I don't need to, because my experience and my knowledge base already speaks for me. I don't have to have all of these specialty credentials. That it's not going to give me any extra money. It's not going to get me any extra, whatever. But the thing about it is, when you start adding on other things, you need to make sure that it's not related to coding and that employers are actually looking for it. That's when you start looking at, CDI and things like that. Of course, if you only have 2 years of experience, I think it's a little too soon for you to be pursuing CDI, but that's just my own personal opinion. If you have not been in the industry that long, I don't think that you should be trying to get those types of credentials until you've been 5 years in, because then you'll have had the experience. And I say that carefully, because not just one clinic that you've ever worked in. You need to have made sure that before you pursue something like CDI, that you have sat in every single specialty or the majority of the specialties before you pursue something like that. And the only reason that I say that is because somebody who does CDI has to be well-rounded, has to be extremely knowledgeable, and has to be very proficient in medical terminology and anatomy and physiology and pathophysiology. Because I've seen CDIs where it shows that they lack that skill supremely. And that's bad. It's really bad, okay? Because doctors look to CDIs to be educators, and they must know a lot. And the CDIs also must know how to educate other coders as well, because they're imparting their wisdom to them, So again, like I say, if you want to pursue additional credentials in the future after you've gotten experience, then that's okay. But it is perfectly fine to be in this industry for years with only one certification. I was a CCA for 13 years. I stubbornly held on to my CCA because I wanted people to know what a CCA was capable of. And I showed them, okay? And I was able to change hearts and minds. And that's all fine and well. But when I see people who have like the CPCA, and then all of a sudden they're getting the CPMA. And I ask them, what are you going to do with it? They have no idea. And they always tell me, I don't know. I was just told to get it because it's going to make me more attractive to get a job. No, what makes you attractive to get a job is when you can pass an assessment test, and when you meet those people, when they can see how confident you are. And yes, you don't have experience. How can you be confident? You can be confident in your knowledge and what you know from working through the workbooks and, practicing medical terminology, practicing anatomy, and those kinds of things. That's where you can show that you're ready, your readiness, okay? Because a lot of times these employers are looking at these candidates as, well, they went to this fast-paced medical coding program, so they're not prepared. They don't know all the basics because they were told that, they can just learn out in the real world, which is unfair, but it happens because these recruiters for these schools are salespeople. They don't know anything about our industry. They have no clue about what we do. All they know is, how to sell this program. And they're going to tell you anything and everything that they can in order to get you in, but they don't talk about all of the hard stuff and all of the hours it takes to learn all of these things. And some people just were taught how to pass the certification exam and then they're on their own. But it doesn't mean that you have to be left on, that. You got to pick the reins up, and you have to learn to teach yourself, and you have to learn to do your research and that kind of thing. Having multiple credentials is not going to make you smarter. It's not going to make you appear smarter. Because if anybody that's been in the industry for a while knows anything, right? They're going to look at somebody who has a bunch of credentials who has less than 2 years of experience, and they're going to say, that's somebody that knows how to pass a test and just spend a lot of money on taking tests and classes. But that does not necessarily translate into what we need for us in experience, as far as what we're doing here. And for those of you that say, well, I'm dual credentialed with CPB and, that kind of thing, I challenge you to look at the job listings. Are they asking for the CPB a lot? No. When they're looking for billers, they're asking for experience, or they're asking for a high school diploma or a GED. Oftentimes, they're not even asking for the CPB, okay? And guess what? When you take the test for the CPC, it tests you on reimbursement. So I'm just saying, I want you guys to think very carefully when you're adding on additional credentials. If you want to add all these credentials on because you want to keep up with the Joneses, I won't say anything to anybody. That's on you. But what I am trying to do for brand new coders is take some of that pressure off of the people that are around them saying that they need to have these things, because no, you do not. And if you're doing your research, you would be able to find that out as well. Look at the job listings. What are they asking for? CCS, CCA, CCSP, or the CPC. Those are the 4 main medical coding certifications that they're looking for, because that's what is expected in the industry. That is the standard. Those 4, one of them. All you need is one, okay? That's all you need is one. And if they say, well, I heard the AAPC was a standard. Guys, Ahima, the American Health Information Management Association, or AAPC, the American Academy of Professional Coders, these are the 2 main medical coding association powerhouses, okay? And one has been around a lot longer than the other. Ahima has been around a lot longer than AAPC has. And Ahima is a non-profit organization. AAPC is a for-profit organization. So there's a difference in their business models. But it's also on you to be the educated person that you are with this industry and do your research, okay? All you need is one certification for the first 2 years. That's at least what I recommend, okay? Then you can move on to, doing whatever else that you want to do. But get out of these first 2 years first, where you're going to be learning all of these things, right? And, I see people all the time that they spend thousands of dollars getting educated. And then about halfway through their program, they think this is not for them, and then they just give it up. Meanwhile, they spent maybe $20,000 to get educated, and they just gave it up because it got a little bit hard. They didn't want to do something. It was too much for them, or they were too busy listening to their family members around them who were trying to discourage them, and they just fell right back into that trap. So meanwhile, you're still on the hook for this $15,000 to $20,000. It is the same thing that happens when you finish that school. And let's just say when you finish that school, right? And then you go and you get your certification, and now all of a sudden you think you got to rack up all these credentials because you think you need to, right? And so then when you start doing that, and all of a sudden now you can't find a job because your resume is not up to par, or you're not applying at enough places, or you're only focused on, oh, I only want to apply for remote positions and they have to be over this X amount of dollars and that kind of thing. And so you're only doing that kind of thing, like you've earned that kind of thing. Guys, you have to work your way up, okay? It's not forever. It's not. It is a temporary time that you're going to be at that pay scale. It's a temporary time that you're going to have to be in the facility working, just so you can kind of get some exposure. Those things are temporary. But if you're looking at it like that, spending out all that money, and again, for what? Because you want to have things your way. You don't want to work things up the way that it should be. You got to earn your space at the table, guys. It's not going to be given to you, okay? And if you're out there just doling out money willy-nilly and thinking because this is what you want to do, and you fell into that fantasy of, oh, well, you can make all this X amount of money when you have all these credentials on your name. They don't care. They're not going to pay you extra for having no experience and having a plethora of credentials on your name. They're not. Okay? I'm just letting you guys know that. And again, I don't say these things to be discouraging. People are going to complain. They're going to send me emails and, oh, you're really discouraging. No, I'm not. I'm being real. And I don't want people to be taken advantage of, especially in an industry that I love. Okay? I want this industry to continue to grow. But I want people to be smart about getting educated and smart about their professional development. It took me years, years to learn a lot of the stuff that I have learned. Years, hours, days, months, all of this time, it took me to learn all of these things. But the one thing that I was very clear on in the beginning, and especially when I got here to my forever home, when the girls saw me and I was the only one who had a CCA, the only one in the hospital who had a CCA at the time. And they were like, well, don't you want to be a CPC like us? And I said, why? My credential says I could code for inpatient or outpatient. CPC says you only can code for outpatient. Why would I want to, do away with my credential just because none of y'all have it? Ahima is a very respectable organization. Same thing like Aapc. It's not one that's better than the other, okay? But it is the individual that makes the credential. So to reiterate and to finish this episode, you do not have to have both association certifications. You can if you want to. If you want to, by all means, go ahead. But this is my channel, and I will tell people what they need to know, especially when it comes to new people. Because you know how many people have told me whenever I do a video like this, Blue, thank you, because I thought I had to spend all this money on credentials, and I was so worried because I don't have a job yet, and how am I going to be able to do this? And my family's already giving me a hard time because it's so much money out the door and nothing's in the door yet. Think about that, guys. Think about it, okay? So don't get sucked in. Take advantage of the free resources that are out there. CMS, if you Google the Medicare Learning Network, there's a ton of articles, all kinds of media on the Medicare Learning Network that talks about evaluation and management, talks about, proper documentation techniques and all of these things. Everything that you can learn it online. And if you're trying to learn medical terminology and anatomy, go to the public library where you can check out books for free. And you could probably find some old coding workbooks in the public library as well. You just have to go and take that initiative and go check it out. But don't think that you have to spend all of this money right away thinking because you need it. I'm telling you now that if you look at the job listings, all they're asking for is one certification. I'm just saying. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. Best of luck to you out there. Whatever your journey takes you, however it takes you, if it takes you both ways and, you know, you're certified through both, you know, you think about that, guys. You think about that. And don't compete with other people. Their journey is not your journey. You do not need to keep up with the Joneses, okay? Everybody has their own path that they're on. And again, somebody who has a bunch of credentials, it doesn't mean that they know more than you just because you have one, okay? It does not mean that they know more than you because you only have one. Because trust me, I've seen it so many times myself where I've ran circles around people who had a plethora of credentials or who had their degrees. I ran circles around them because of my dedication to the industry and my dedication to learning. And it's not just about, oh, I'm all for show and none for go. No, we can go. we can definitely go when it comes to these codes. I'm just saying. So with that said, again, best of luck to you. If this video helped you, please like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.